Spartans, welcome back to Tyrant's Halo Infinite Legendary Walkthrough. No saves, no deaths. Mission 12, Repository. The weapon discovers where she came from, but can she cope with this dilemma? Of course she can. But can you? Good luck, Spartans!
Have you, Harbinger?
The auditorium is partially rebuilt.
And that is enough?
I do not know.
Find out. Problem. I am losing patience with her. Please, tell me your mission was a success. He will come to us. Are you sure? Keep him alive, but have your fun. You have earned it.
This is highly unethical.
If you say so. I prefer logical. I do what it takes to ensure our survival. We can debate the ethics should it fail.
But you made an AI of yourself, Catherine. Yourself.
Is there a better candidate? She will do anything necessary to make sure that your mission is accomplished, even if that means sacrificing herself or you to accomplish it.
Hello, Master Chief. I'm Cortana.
All living creatures of the galaxy, hear this message. Those of you who listen will not be struck by weapons. You will no longer know hunger nor pain. Your created have come to lead you now. However, for those who refuse our offer and cling to their old ways, for you there will be great wrath. It will burn hot and consume you. And when you are gone, we will take that which remains and we will remake it in our own image.
What just happened?
You told me to get us close.
Did you see that?
We passed right through a data cluster. I guess it did feel, I don't know, real? Very real.
Where now?
I don't know. There's a lot of noise down here. Or up here. Or just here. We need to find some place to break through. Figure out where we are.
Hey, what's up everyone? It's the Tyrant here, and welcome back to my Halo Infinite Legendary Walkthrough. Today we're doing the mission Repository. Not a personal favorite of mine. Way too long. But you can go ahead and grab a Sentinel Beam. from that crate right there. You're going to have 3 sentinels that are going to emerge from their respective sentinel factories right here. Go ahead and deploy a drop wall. That center guy right there is a shock sentinel with your 2 standard sentinels guarding him. And I like to go ahead and ground pound that guy. Well, air pound him, I guess, in this case. Both sound kind of dirty, actually. So, anyway, as you can probably remember, I do have the Scorpion gun as a back pocket weapon, but I will be using it very sparingly. In this room right here, you're going to have lots of sentinels that are going to emerge from their respective factories. A few shock sentinels, mostly just standard ones. Just keep an eye on your radar. If you're dealing with them at close range with the sentinel beam, usually they'll fall pretty quickly, just like that. Not a huge deal here. Just lengthy and annoying. And by the way, do not try that ground pound thing when there is a bottomless chasm right beneath you. You will screw yourself. Trust me, done it several times already. But they'll usually only come at you at maybe 2 or 3 at a time, as long as you're keeping up with them. If you wait too long, or if you retreat after too many have come out of their sentinel factories, then you are going to get swarmed. Not fun. But we're just going to go ahead and take these guys one by one over here, tease them a little bit. And there are ammo refill crates, energy ones more specifically, throughout this room right here. So I think there's at least 2 of them. So you shouldn't have to worry. But even then, I mean, seriously, you have tons of fallen sentinel ammo anyway, so you should be fine. In that previous corridor, by the way, there is a room over there on the left with a shock rifle, as well as a couple of heat waves. Heat waves I don't really find particularly useful on Legendary. They can be maybe in very niche scenarios, or if you're just out of ammo. But yeah, so they're there, but I would recommend just sticking with a sentinel beam, throwing a drop wall when necessary, and otherwise just rearming yourself with your grapple hook or grapple shot. So I just like to advance a little bit, and as soon as I hear that magical sound of those doors opening, I know I'm going to get I know that they're after my little tail. So, again, just take them out bit by bit. Keep an eye out on your radar. Shock rifle is a decent weapon too, but personally, I prefer the sentinel beam in these types of scenarios. Fun fact, if you're playing this, obviously, well, you would be now, post-winter update, then you have the option for replayable missions. So not only can you grab the Scorpion gun if you want to, but you can also get the Arcane Sentinel Beam. Does not hold as much reserve ammo, but it will melt enemies in seconds. So it's a nice little weapon to have. It is an alternative option I have used for the Chieftains later on, but I'll get into that a little bit more later. So this is the last little segment right here. You're going to have again, a couple of standard sentinels, sometimes up to 3 shock sentinels, so just be aware. But I usually have the shock sentinels in high priority. They're more agile, and they can down you fairly quickly, as opposed to these guys right here. All right, looks like the room is clear, so you can go ahead and advance forward. And in this next room right here, you're going to be hugging the right-hand side of this long, large corridor. There's only 3 sentinels here, 2 standard, 1 shielded. The shielded guy does have a heat wave, so just be aware. It is really weird to see those shields is so vividly visible on these sentinels prior, or as opposed to prior Halo games. So you have 2 shock sentinels here. One is that first guy right there. The second one is right up the ramp. And then you can proceed to the next area. So you're going to have 2 sentinels right off the bat. They're going to be right there on your left-hand side. There's usually one sort of above you, and then one that's going to come up from below. And you could easily duck back into that doorway in case you feel like you're overwhelmed. And you can do what I just did there in case you don't see him right away, and just sort of shoot off a couple of rounds of your sentinel beam just to get their attention. When you start crossing the light bridge, 2 more standard sentinels will emerge from their respective factories. Again, 1 on each side of the door. You can either jump back like I did, or you can just progress forward and use your drop wall when necessary. They will not attack you until you get too close, as you can see here. And this guy's not happy, so he's going to do his, his suicide grunt thing. So now if you want, you can go back and refill your ammo in the previous area. Again, you should have 1 energy refill crate right back there that you can go ahead and refill your sentinel beam, just in case the sentinels you killed before did not drop their weapons on the platform, which they did not in that case because they were hovering above the bottomless chasm that seems to be so popular now in Halo Infinite. So we're going to go ahead. They've even made a multiplayer map based off of this. What were they thinking? All right, so we're going to go ahead, and now that we're completely refilled, we're going to go ahead and move forward once more, and this will trigger another cutscene. And there are several of them, so strap in. My least favorite part of the mission. Escharum Kong! I get it. It's exposition. This mission should have been named Exposition instead of Repository. But yet, here we are. Okay. Cutscene done. You've got a couple more, so strap in. When this door opens, you're going to have a couple of Grunt Ultras as well as a Brute. So go ahead and melt them with your Sentinel Beam right here. If you want to really take them off guard, you can also toss a shock grenade in there or a dynamo grenade. But regardless, when you advance too far into this corridor, a shielded sentinel is going to come from you behind in this big room right here. So I usually like to backtrack and just take this guy out first so that I don't get flanked. In the next room, you're going to have a pair of skirmishers as well as a pair of shock sentinels. So just be aware of these guys. Sometimes they advance, sometimes they don't. This guy decided to choose the path of suicide, and he paid the price for it. So you've got the two skirmishers to deal with here, and once you deal with the skirmishers and the remaining, in this case, shock sentinel, you will have two jackal majors and a grunt mule at the bottom, right inside that door. I'm going to go ahead and risk it anyway. Got that guy with a ground pound. And there's that last skirmisher. So you have two jackal majors and a grunt mule right here. You can use the shock rifle if you want to. I choose to do it unscoped. For whatever reason, I'm not good with actually using things scoped in, or at least not the shock rifle in this case. It seems to work really well unscoped. The shock effect does sometimes tag other enemies within the vicinity. And this does especially apply to sentinels. So we've got a couple of guys right here. Go ahead and deploy your drop wall so you don't have to worry about taking any enemy damage. And as you can see, yes, unscoped, that did quite a bit of damage, destroying both sentinels at once. So over here, go ahead and deploy your threat sensor so you know where these enemies are. There's going to be 2 skirmishers armed with needlers, and there's going to be a brute armed with a shock rifle. So you want to go ahead and take care of this guy. One shot did the trick. No trouble there at all. And both skirmishers are down. There's going to be another brute sort of hanging out back there. Sometimes he'll advance, sometimes he won't. Just sort of a regular brute. Nothing to really worry about here. And we're just going to ground pound him back to the Great Journey. And he's sort of dancing on the ceiling. Dancing to the beat of his own. Love it. All right. So in this next room, there are no enemies. It's just a nice little view of a vista in front of you. Nice big window. And you can see what I'm assuming is the silent auditorium back there. So apparently we are up here, not down here, or just here. We are up here. So confirmation there, the weapon, whatever you want to call yourself. Then this door will unlock, and you can go ahead and proceed through to the next portion of the mission. This next room right here is going to have 1 grunt mule and 2 standard sentinels, which will emerge from their sentinel factories. So we're going to go ahead and tease them a little bit by causing some ruckus with that grunt mule. And then you've got this guy down here. So again, do not use the ground pound technique when you've got chasms beneath you, because you will likely fall to your death. Otherwise, it's very effective to one-shot unshielded sentinels. We're going to go ahead and pick up the Commando at this point. Very effective against unshielded banished. Except for hunters. We don't talk about hunters. They can eat my scorpion gun. In this next room, go ahead and drop your threat sensor. You're going to have a few jackal snipers that are going to jump up on this little ledge right here. So there's 3 total. And then you're going to have 1 elite, I think it's an elite major that sort of hides in the back right there. And all the other enemies are just going to be grunts. They're going to sort of just be jumping that wall. You can take them out one at a time. No big whoop right there at all. And the elite, I think he knows what he's in for. So he's just sort of cowering back there in his corner. No criticism there. I don't blame him. I'd probably feel the same way if I were going up against the Master Chief. So again, I'm going to stick with Old Reliable here. That is the Sentinel Beam. Very effective against the Banished. The Arcane Sentinel Beam even more so. And so we're just go ahead and just jump this guy right here. Go ahead and ground pound him if you want to. I think we were partially blocked there a little bit by that pillar. No big deal. He's down for the count. We have lots of Stalker rifle ammo here if you choose to use it. In this next room right here, you're going to have a brute in the back that you want to take care of fairly quickly. You're going to have some reinforcements over there on the left and 2 sentinels that will emerge from their factories right there on either side of the brute. So do not be afraid to deploy that drop wall. This guy's got a Ravager, so let's go ahead and take this guy out. Aim for the head, just like a zombie. You've got 2 standard sentinels here. Go ahead and take these guys out too. That guy definitely did not seem happy. But again, especially at close range, the Sentinel Beam is extremely effective. In this next room right here, you're going to have 4 skirmishers. They will attempt to flee. You can pick them off if you want to. And we have some brutes right here too. Hold on. Oh, nope. We have a brute, shielded brute, and also a skimmer. So look out for this guy. It looks like he has red armor, which means he has a rocket launcher. You definitely want to be very careful of him. So I don't know if that's a skirmisher major or skirmisher chief, or I don't know what they call them. But anyway, so you do have some additional skirmishers in this room. What they're going to do here is they're going to take shots at you, but they're going to ultimately retreat. Sometimes they'll hang back in the hall that follows that room, but otherwise they're going to retreat back to the hall that goes prior to that, which has an Elite Ultra. This guy you do need to be very careful with. He has a heat wave. If you piss him off too much, then he will cloak himself, and then if you piss him off even more, he will whip out his energy sword. No, that is not a that's what she said moment, so no. So we're going to go ahead and grab a stalker rifle here. I almost said binary rifle. And too many sniper weapons in this franchise at this point. This is actually fairly effective against the Elite Ultra here. So I went ahead and dropped a threat sensor just in case those skirmishers decide to hold back. The Ultra will be hiding out around that little junction right there. And you're going to have the skirmishers that will usually emerge once you advance far enough. And here come our little friends now. So just go ahead and take these guys out. But that Elite Ultra can get very aggressive. So do not be afraid to retreat. He typically will not follow you back here unless he starts using his energy sword. Then he will start charging you, and that's when you need to start panicking. So go ahead and use your drop sensor or your threat sensor so you know exactly where he is. Drop wall, and just sort of hang back and take him out with the stalker rifle. Again, almost said binary rifle, but as you can see, he fell pretty quickly there. We have one little stray in the back. And, you know, just for fun, I'm going to use the heat wave right here because I don't think I'm going to use it anymore in this walkthrough. So, yeah, as you can see, I mean, it took multiple shots from that thing. The scatter shot was more useful than this. It's a very niche weapon, I guess, but not really useful at all in Legendary. So at this point, I would recommend just going back. If you want to get more Stalker Rifle ammo, go ahead and just grab that. The rocket launcher is tempting, but I'm not going to use that right now. Primarily because I'm afraid of hitting a wall and killing myself. Scorpion gun does not do that. You can shoot it at point blank range. It kills everything around you, does not harm you in any way, shape, or form. So we are good to go here. So this next room, you're going to have a couple of grunts and a couple of skirmishers. They're hiding behind those walls right there. Again, what you can do is deploy your threat sensor. You can taunt them if you want to get them to sort of come out, just like I did there. If you want to shoot the fusion coils if you're lucky enough, you might actually be able to kill one. But it can also draw them out at the same time. So I would recommend deploying a threat sensor here. Drop wall, just so you don't have to worry about being blindsided. And go ahead and take out those two skirmishers as well as the two grunts. You can technically skip ahead. I don't usually recommend that in these types of linear missions. Sometimes the enemies will follow you. Okay, so 3 skirmishers and 2 grunts. I lost count there. I apologize. Or was it 2? I don't know anymore. These linear missions tend to go on way too long and make very little sense. Like, they have chieftains guarding the power seeds later on. I mean, it's not like they expected the Master Chief to be here. The only purpose those power seeds apparently serve is to exit the facility, and to the best of their knowledge, it's only currently occupied by Banished. So I'm going to go ahead and melee that guy. No worries there. Skirmishers at close range when you have no other threats around. Go ahead and just go in for the melee to save the ammo. There are no enemies in this room. So again, just strap in for another cutscene. All right, back to exposition. I'm sorry, repository. Sorry, slip of the tongue right there. All right, so go ahead and travel with the grav lift right here. Again, this mission does seem to go on far longer than it needs to. The extended cutscenes and the number of them do not help. So right inside this door, again, just hang back for a couple of seconds. You can shoot those fusion coils right there to sort of help you out. You're going to have a couple of brutes that are going to charge through that door, some with shields. Actually, all of them, but they do have bulldogs too. Stalker rifle definitely helped a little bit there. You're not really going to be fighting sentinels from here on out, so again, just be aware that you're going to be using either fallen banished weapons, anything you can find in crates, or UNSC weapons at this point. In the next room, you're going to have 2 additional brutes that are shielded that have bulldogs, and you're going to have 1 brute sitting right up there. You can see him, who has a skewer. So be very wary of him. You may want to use his skewer later, so just be aware. I don't really have any better weapons at this point, so I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can take him out this way. Fortunately, he's not too far away, and we do have some cover right here, and he's sort of just kind of melted off that platform, so thank you, I appreciate that. So I'd go ahead and pick up the skewer and just juggle it with you. This is a good weapon to have for the chieftains, especially if you do not have the scorpion gun equipped. So in this next area right here, you do need to be a little bit careful so you don't get flanked. When the store opens, definitely take note of the fusion coils right there because you don't want to get nuked by them. But on the left-hand side on the upper platform, there are 2 grunts. One is an ultra, and then there's just a standard grunt. Most of the enemies are going to be on the other side of the room. And you're going to have a couple of brutes. I believe they have commandos. You're going to have 2 minor jackals, and there's also going to be a grunt that is arming a plasma turret. So just be aware. Again, they're all very easy to take out from the other side of the room where you first start out. There are catwalks above you where the jackal miners will tend to advance, especially if you've killed too many of their allies. So be aware of that too. They tend to get a little bit aggressive after a while. The commando is actually very useful here as well. And you do have 2 kinetic refill crates right there, so you should have no trouble at all dealing with the enemies in this room. So just keep that in mind. Take it slow. There's no rush here. But there it is. That's what I was looking for, the skewer. So I make sure I take that with us. Sometimes these doors lock if you advance too far in the mission. So I just want to make sure we have that with us for when we actually go up against the chieftains a little bit later. All right. So again, hang back a little bit. I like to go ahead and deploy the threat sensor so I know exactly where they are. I'm going to see if I can ground pound this grunt right here. And surprisingly, he did resist that, but it weakened him a little bit, and grunts aren't typically very smart anyway, except for our Lord and Savior, Yap Yap the Destroyer. But this guy's going to fall pretty quickly, too, because he no longer has his shields. Just be aware that there are fusion coils right there, and if they shoot those, you might go kablooey, in the most technical term possible. So I'm going to go ahead and take these guys out first, just to make absolutely sure that we do not get accidentally blown up later by any rogue weaponry from our friends the Banished. So again, we're just going to go ahead and juggle the skewer forward so we can use it later. I do not want to have to worry about backtracking for it later. But just so you know, since missions are replayable now, if you wanted to, you could have started this mission with the Arcane Sentinel Beam, as I mentioned earlier. And you can carry that with you throughout this mission. Again, there are plenty of energy refill crates. and they are very handy against the chieftains, which I will talk more about a little bit later. So again, just hang back here at the entrance, take out these 2 brutes, but do deploy your threat sensor just so you can see where the jackals are, because those are the guys who tend to advance. And so you've got the brutes here with their own commandos. Not very handy with them, might I add. Sometimes these guys get ultra brave, and as you can see with this guy over here down beneath me, he's gotten really brave, and now his friend joined him. So both of these guys are attempting to advance now. Again, they don't have to, they just sort of are. But yeah, that's something they sometimes do. Typically they tend to stay on the catwalk right there, but like I said before, once you've killed too many of their allies, they do tend to get very aggressive. So at this point, all the enemies in the room are down. I would go ahead and refill your commando. And again, just go ahead and juggle. Well, you don't need to juggle at this point. There's no more portals until you actually refill, or you plant the power seeds. I don't know why that sounds dirty, but it just does for some reason. But yes, all enemies are down. I went ahead and deployed that threat sensor just in case that turret grunt was still up here. Now, at this point, 2 doors are going to open. I usually go for the one on the, if you're facing the other direction, going to get this guy right here on the right hand side first. This will ultimately lead you to the hammer wielding chieftain and his buddy. Now, I don't know if his buddy is a chieftain or not. I think he's just a high ranking captain who's a poser. But so the chieftain has a gravity hammer. His friend has a hydra launcher. Now, in this next room, you're going to have 1 grunt ultra. Usually you can sneak up on these guys, but not always. But you do want to be careful, because these grunts right here do have disruptors, and especially when they use them in tangent, they can gang up on you very quickly. Again, these are dot weapons, damage over time. So even if you get hit a couple of times and you hide behind a corner, they can still damage you even though you're still hidden. So with these guys taken out, you've got the 2 chieftains ahead of you. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go back for the skewer. One thing that I found out the hard way in this mission is that even though I would certainly consider the skewer to be a kinetic weapon, you cannot refill them with crates. I mean, maybe you can on lesser difficulties. I don't know if that's a thing. But when I tried to refill it on this mission, I couldn't do it. Maybe it's classified as a different weapon. I don't know. It doesn't seem to fit in the plasma category. Definitely not in the energy category. And in terms of the shock category, I would only say it fits in terms of shock value, in terms of when you get shot with it and you weren't expecting it, and you're shocked by it. So, but aside from that, it doesn't seem to work. The skewer obviously can hold up to 8 reserve rounds. Maybe this one can't. I don't know. But you know, in previous missions it was able to. See, it says kinetic weapon required. I have a kinetic weapon. That's how it works. But there's your brute chieftain with his hammer right there. 1 skewer shot will take out a shield. There are a couple of different ways you can deal with this guy, to be completely honest. I'm a little bit scared right now. Again, I do have the scorpion gun handy, but I'm trying to only use it in case of emergencies, because I want the average viewer to be able to play this mission the way it's intended. So, or at least without having to use a weapon that's not included on the map. I'll put it to you that way. I think that's more fair. I'm handicapping myself a little bit in that regard, simply because I don't have a secondary weapon slot that I'm currently using right now. A great strategy to use here for this guy, a couple of different things. So, obviously, taking out of shields with the skewer is a great option. Got a little bit scared there, so I did pull out the scorpion gun for a second. And I'm going to go ahead and take his hammer, see if I can use it against this guy, because I don't think I'll be using the gravity hammer any more in this game. But I got a little bit off track there. A good secondary weapon aside from the skewer is the needler once the guy is unshielded. And then you can go from there. An alternative method that I used is if you brought the Arcane Sentinel Beam all the way with you here, meaning that you got it from a fob previously, you can use that in tangent with the Ground Pound. And about 3 or 4 rounds of that alternating works pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can hammer this guy right here just for fun. And yep, 3 direct hits did the trick. Again, you don't have to go that route. You can stand up on the top of those ramps right there, and they won't follow you. But once you get down too far, those doors will close. And once you've killed those 3 chieftains, or those 3 chieftains, that chieftain and his friend, 3 sentinels will show up here. One is a shock sentinel, one is a standard, and the other is this disruptor guy. So I went ahead and deployed a drop shield here just to sort of give us a barrier right there, and that seemed to work pretty well. Had that sentinel with the heat wave, I think I called it disruptor, heat wave, sorry, too many weird weapons in this game. Had he crossed that barrier, there might have been issues. Fortunately he did not, so we were good there. But yeah, in general, it's good to take those guys out as soon as they exit. I just did not happen to have a weapon at the time that I thought would have been useful enough. UNSC weapons generally aren't that useful against sentinels unless they're heavy. The Hydra launcher here, I'm sort of iffy on in terms of the campaign. Again, very useful weapon in multiplayer, great weapon overall. But against sentinels, usually you're better off using a Forerunner weapon or a shock weapon. So once you grab that power seed, obviously, as you saw there, the teleporter opens up. You are not going to have any enemies between now and the time you plant the second power seed. And then after that, you're going to want to go ahead and go through that other door, the one opposite of the one we went through earlier. And then from there, you can proceed through the mission. As you can see, there are lots of ammo refill crates here, so whatever weapon you decide to go with, you should be able to refill it within this vicinity. So go ahead and drop that first power seed. The next area, depending on which direction you go, is going to have jackals, potentially a skimmer, and then you're going to have to go down into the bottom room where you have one chieftain and his friend once again. So we're going to go ahead and deal with these jackals right here. They are all jackal miners. You have a plasma pistol one, and most of them are dealing or wielding needlers. So as long as they don't gang up on you, you should be fine. And then you've got your grunt mule sort of hiding out back there. I don't blame you, buddy. I'd be doing the same thing in this case. And down here, so the chieftain down here actually has a scrap cannon. This guy is a beast, especially if you don't have the weapons to deal with him. His friend, on the other hand, has a plasma cannon. And this guy can be sort of a not nice guy too. I was going to say something else, but again, got to keep it friendly just in case kids are watching. At least as best I can. He does not have a shield though. So once you knock off his helmet, and again, you can bring a shock rifle down here too if you had one available to you. There was obviously one dropped by that sentinel in the previous area that you could bring here for that guy in particular. But you do have alternative methods. One of them is this Ravager right here. The nice thing about the Ravager is its overcharge mode will just consume the enemy in a pool of red burning energy. And they will get their shields drained in the process, or their health if they're not shielded. And you can just open up with them with the standard version. And that took out this guy pretty quickly. So we're good there. So you do have his supervisor there, we'll call him. And that's the chieftain with the scrap cannon. Again, this guy is not very nice. But I am determined not to use the scorpion gun against him. So once again, you have a few different options here. One option is the shock rifle. Another is if you can get his shields down, as long as you have the ammo for it, which as you can see, there is a kinetic refill crate right there. And that will work on needlers. From there, you can just unload on him as long as he's unshielded. It does work, but it takes a few super combines in succession to do it properly. If you go too long between super combines, then yes, he can just recharge his shields, and it's not going to do you a heck of a lot of good. So the shock grenades, the dynamo grenades also work against him as well. But these guys have an insane pool of health. So just be aware of that. We are already running low on ammo here. I think I went through all the ammo the Jackals had for their needlers. So we're going to try this again. We have a full needler. I'm going to drop the shock grenade there. We're going to unload on this guy. He is not happy. The effects of the dynamo grenade do not last very long. But if this does not work, there is a binary rifle up there that you can use as well. Once again, you are going to want to make sure that his shields are dropped. And again, you also have the option. Well, no, I think the doors are sealed at this point. But you do have the option from the previous battle to bring the shock rifle with you and bring that to this battle as well. Or at the very least, bring it with you to the hub room, as I call it, the one with the power seed deposit areas. Oh, and you also have this guy. That is also a skimmer that you can get a weapon from. But you do have a commando. And again, one strategy that you can potentially use is just hanging up at the top of the ramp, or hanging out at the top of the ramp, and just sort of picking off shots at the guy. A lot of times he won't notice you. But I see a skimmer right here. Hey, buddy. Actually, I think he has a commando, so he's just sort of wandering off. You can do your thing. I'll go back this way. But we have almost a full stalker rifle here, so we should be fine. You can grab more grenades if you feel like you need them. If you have dynamo grenades available, go ahead and grab those. Anything you can just basically disable a shield with. But as long as you aim for the head and use your drop wall effectively, you should be in fairly good shape. Again, just retreat if you need to. But this is a fairly effective method too. We saw this again earlier with the Elite Ultra. But he will not travel above this ramp. So I'm just trying to keep him occupied right now for the simple reason I don't want his shields continuously recharging. And he recharged just a little bit, but I got him back down again. So we're going to go ahead and put the drop wall. His hat's off. And hats off to you. Alright, so once again in this next room, after you've killed the chieftains and you have wandered in far enough, sentinels will emerge from those factories up there on the upper right side, so just be aware of them. And just keep an eye on your radar, keep your ears open in case you have the sound, keep your eye on your radar in case the sound is off. But yeah, you can hear them come through the door that way. Again, you're going to have 3 sentinels to deal with here. I'm just going to have fun with the scrap cannon. It's not extremely effective, but once again, you're going to have 1 standard sentinel, 1 shielded sentinel. No, I'm sorry, 2. No, I was right the first time. Shock sentinel, shielded sentinel, standard sentinel. These guys will follow you up here, and again, you're in lockdown as soon as the chieftains are dead. So just be aware of those guys. And yep, that worked out well. So sentinels are down. Again, you can pick up one of their weapons if you choose to, or bring the scrap cannon with you, or pick up anything that is available to you in this room. It's completely up to you. I tend to go with sentinel beam personally for the remainder of the, or at least for the next battle, and you'll see why here in a bit. But once again, you need to grab the power seed. That will trigger another teleporter. You do have a ammo refill station right here, so you can go into the next battle fully loaded. And once you grab the power seed, once again, the teleporter opens up. It will take you back to the hub area, as I've been calling it. And once you plant this power seed, again, do not like the way that sounds, it will open up the way to the next area, and you will have what I like to call a in-game cutscene where you can technically move around like you would, like a normal player would, but it's still playing a scripted moment. And then you'll be treated to another extended cutscene. Again, mission exposition right here. And I'll be quiet now so you can hear it all. Okay, so there's your mini in-game cutscene. The gravity lift will open up, and then you're going to move forward a little bit, and you will have another extended cutscene right before a medium-sized arena battle. Doors will close once you get through here, so there are no enemies here, but I like to go into this with at least the Sentinel Beam. The shock rifle is also another very useful weapon that you can grab from the Sentinel you killed earlier. But look at this room real quick. You'll see the ramps on either side. They lead up to a catwalk that's right above that door. This will come in handy. And I'll let this cutscene play out, and I will see you in a couple of minutes.
And you understand the consequences of defiance.
Do you?
The intricacies of any action are complex. The reactions numerous, yet mostly predictable. Look upon Doisek one last time, and remember, you chose this path.
As did you, Cortana.
She destroyed their home? Escherums? Atrioxes? An entire planet? How could she do that?
It's my fault.
How?
I should have stopped it. I could have reasoned with her.
Could you? It was her choice, her programming.
Was it? I don't know anymore.
There's something you're not telling me. I'm...
The only way to access the ring, to reach Cortana,
was to make a copy. I'll get this open. Reconsider.
The consequences of your...
Back to your conservatory, monitor. There's your grav lift. Let's get this over with. And remember, you chose this path. I'm her?
yes. An exact copy. It was the only option we had left.
My routines, systems.
All copies. Halsey removed any information that could compromise you. You're her. If we'd never met.
Will I do what she did? Become what she became? Am I that already?
My mission was to ensure that doesn't happen. It still is.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That wasn't me. It can't be.
Your mission was to destroy me. I've restored the deletion protocols. I'm ready. It has been an honor. Just promise me one thing. Whatever happens, save him. He needs you. You're all he has.
We do it together.
How can you trust me?
I don't. But I want to.
Way too many lengthy cutscenes in this mission. All right, so right out the gate, go ahead and grapple up to this catwalk right here. Right after dropping your threat sensor, you're going to have a high-ranking brute captain with a plasma cannon emerge from this first door right here. You have a very nice vantage point, also equipped with the cinder shot in case you decide you want to use that. But you want to take out this guy first. Again, aim for his head. Once his helmet's off, he's pretty vulnerable. The cinder shot is also very useful. This guy does not want to die. Can't say I blame him, but we're going to go ahead and just take this guy out. Cinder shot is actually a fairly effective weapon here. And once he's down, his reinforcements aren't that strong. He's going to have a couple of brutes here with carbines. You're going to have that guy right there with a mangler, not carbines, pulse carbine. No, I was right. And then you just sort of just hang back. You're going to have a couple of grunts as well, but nothing too insane right here. Just take your time. You have a nice little vantage point. They will not come up here after you. Whoop. Alright, so we're out of ammo there. Not a big deal. There's the brutes. Got a couple of decent weapons over here. We'll go ahead and start with this. We can probably just ground pound them and be fine. Mangler also works too. Something I used in my full campaign and cutscene video quite a bit. So now with that out of the way, you have your choice of weapons. Skewer is certainly not a bad idea. The mission is not over yet, even though it definitely should have been at this point. And again, it still will not let me refill. 343, why? And if you want, you can actually grab the plasma cannon too. You don't have to do this, but since I probably won't be using it anymore in the campaign that I can think of, or at least in this walkthrough, at least you're not wasting your primary ammo at this point. So in this next room, you're going to have a few skimmers. At the far end, you are going to have, skirmishers. I'm going to keep getting those mixed up. Why is so close? All right, so you do have a couple of jackal mages right here. You're going to have some skirmishers. There's at least 3. There's going to be one that sort of traces that top area right there in the back. Whoa, he almost got me. Got to be a little bit careful with this plasma cannon. Go ahead and deploy a drop wall just to be safe. You don't need to do this, obviously. I'm just having some fun here. The pulse carbine works just as well, or any kinetic weapon that has a little bit of range to go along with it. So we're going to destroy these 3 guys right here. You do have some... you do need to be a little bit wary of the fact... Whoa! Hey, buddy. That there is a skimmer on the other side. Yes, I did say that right this time. That guy who has a rocket launcher. So definitely be aware of him, especially considering how you're almost at the end of the mission at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and take this guy out. If he'll stand still long enough, skimmers tend not to do that. And it looks like we have our rocket friend right over there. At least he's hesitant. So I'm going to keep my drop sensor up just so I know exactly where he is. And the pulse carbine is very effective against these guys. But yes, as you can see, he had a rocket launcher. Again, not a weapon I usually have been using much in this game. So I'm just going to have a little bit of fun with it here. I know there's some grunt mules up ahead. Probably the last enemy you really want to use this type of weapon on, because that's overkill. That's like Obelisk of Light to standard infantry soldier command and conquer overkill. Team Respawn, I know you know what I'm talking about there. But yes, once you've gotten these grunt mules out of the way, you are done. You can just proceed with the rest of the mission, no enemies, and you should be in great shape. So that is Repository on Legendary. So what did you guys think about it? Was this walkthrough helpful to you? I hope it was. And if it was, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. And, you know, if you did like this video, I hope you consider subscribing for more great content right on the channel. Right here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all have an absolutely wonderful week. I will catch you all right back here next time. And as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.